again. It's Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit, talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the week. And we are so glad that you have joined us, Skyping our way this week through 2020. Erin Evernham filling in for Ashley Strummy alongside virtually here. And Erin, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am doing well, considering Skyping and Zooming and all of this stuff that we have that we're so used to in 2020. It is what it is. And so we're rolling along. Everything is good. And we continue with the 2020 sprint car season. And one of the areas that kind of the topic of the day that we'll talk about is our friends in California. And Erin, this thing is hit different pockets of the country different ways, but boy, it has clobbered California as far as sprint car racing goes.
It really has. I mean, we talk every show, even on our weekly Tuesday show, about how weird 2020 is and how, this virus has affected it. But California is just a whole nother level. I mean, the state has been so strict about them returning to racing, having fans. It's just been so unfortunate for all those teams.
Really has been. Our guest this week is Andy Forsberg. I mentioned Marysville. He picked up the championship there. They've been running on Wednesday nights, I think, as I mentioned, and that's the thing. I think I've actually had a couple of times on Flow Racing where that's kind of like the late night game for college football fans. Where they do one of those days, and I've seen some great 360 racing, but it's just been a challenge. So we're going to chat with Andy Forsberg, the champion at Marysville, one of the few championships that California is offering this year, and always look forward to our visits with him. But first, take a look at this. It's Fair Week at Port Royal, and one of the big attractions at the Juniata County Fair is sprint car racing, and man, they had it good at Port Royal this past weekend. Here's the call on Flow Racing.
And now for the Dryden death-defying move of the week, where one driver simply amazes us with their on-track moves.
Here comes Brent Marks. He's side by side with Whittle. They're 3 and 4. He's going to squeeze by him here. Coming into the 4. They both slide up. But Brent Marks, your new leader, past the flag stand.
That death-defying move was brought to you by Dryden Diesel All Deaf, the official deaf of the World of Outlaws and wheelmen everywhere. Visit Dryden.com for more information.
Pride, passion, performance. We are Team Dryden.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation here, presented by Sage Fruit. Let's go to the Hercules Tire Hotline, and joining us fresh off from another championship out of Marysville Speedway and what has been an awkward and weird season, our good friend Andy Forsberg joins us. Hello, Andy. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
Hey, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Andy, when we try to describe and put your arms around what 2020 has been like as a sprint car racer in California, how do you even begin to describe it?
Yeah, it's been a headache, that's for sure. Selfishly, in the racing world, it's been a headache. Obviously, there's bigger issues going on, but yeah, I mean, we were rocking and rolling there in March, and then just everything got shut off, and we sat around for a couple of months just like everybody else, and now the tracks are just kind of periodically putting races together when they can, or when they have sponsorships to try to run without crowds. So it's definitely been an interesting season.
Andy, we've talked to, racers throughout this year about how crazy the schedule is and how difficult it is to kind of go week by week. But for you guys in California, it's got to be even more difficult. The state has been super strict with the fairgrounds. There's been wildfires, all sorts of craziness. How difficult is it to plan the races, and I see some are canceled last minute.
Yeah, it's definitely been a deal where I go to work on Monday and I'll go in after work and get on Facebook and kind of see where we're racing or where I thought I was racing and now we're not racing. So that's definitely taken some getting used to. I'm a creature of habit. I love routine. I like knowing what's going on. So selfishly, it's been a real big pain in the butt. But fortunately, I've got a good team. My dad and his old retired crew guys, basically every day Saturday for them. So we can race on weekdays or on Sunday nights, and it hasn't been too big of a headache. But I definitely give my half off to the guys that have jobs and have to work on their car after work and are racing on Wednesday nights or Thursday nights. It's not easy, that's for sure. So we've made it work. Marysville's been running pretty consistently on Wednesdays, so we've always known we've got a Wednesday night show every other week, and that's kind of what we stuck to this year for the most part.
Andy Forsberg going to try to go upstairs now and get a run. Shane Gollivan to his inside.
How you talk about your dad and the crew and everybody that every day is Saturday with that. From your perspective though, the back-to-back, the Wednesday night, the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday, has back-to-back been a challenge?
Starting your week on Monday kind of tired and grouchy and then not catching up, and then all of a sudden you got a race on Wednesday, get out of here on a half a day on Wednesday. And I had basically everybody I work with the contractors and the cabinet shops and interior decorators, I had them trained, like, okay, Andy's going to be gone at noon on Friday. Don't bother him on Saturday. He won't even be around. So I had everybody trained for like the last 20 years. This is what Andy's schedule is. And this year, between myself and my racing and my business portion, it's been kind of easily pulled my hair out, that's for sure, to say the least. But, nobody's making us do it. So we don't have to go racing, but we choose to, so we'll make it work.
Forsberg just set the fastest lap of the race. Andy Forsberg has got something working in the 92.
Andy, along those lines, sprint car racing in California has deep history, deep roots, but over the years it's kind of gone up and down a little bit. In the last few years it seems to be on upward swing, the new 360 series, some of the talent that's coming out of California. How nerve-wracking is it to see this year what's happened as far as the track staying open, the teams? How scary is that for California racers?
Yeah, I think about that quite a bit. We all kind of put our head in the sand and say, well, we'll just scratch 2020 and we'll just get back to normal in 2021. Well, the beginning of 2021 is not that far out, and I don't know how the tracks go about putting a schedule together, putting sponsorship together, getting dates. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be a promoter right now, to say the least. I know that there are a couple fairgrounds tracks right now that are kind of in limbo. Petaluma right now is they're kind of threatened every year to get shut down. They're just right in the middle of the Bay Area, and they've basically been built all the way around. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a track or two just kind of go away. I know that's glass half empty, but yeah, it's a tough road to hoe. Now the racers, we're pretty. We can survive. We'll just keep coming back. I don't know. We're like an alligator, I guess. You can't kill us off. But on the other hand, the tracks. We need the tracks, and if they go away, we're going to be hurting.
Well, Andy, if you're going to race, you might as well do it successfully. And you picked up the track championship in Marysville. I see some wins. I see a lot of consistent finishes up at the front. Looking at your results for this season, kind of assess the performance that you've had on those occasions when you have had the chance to go race.
Well, we've been consistent, which I was surprised when Craig called me up. I thought he was calling for somebody else's phone number that was doing good out here. But yeah, we've been doing consistently decent. I think there's a few reasons why we're not winning. One of them is, I've self-inflicted a couple nights where I might have made the wrong choice on a line or two.
Still a gaggle of cars ahead of those guys. Forsberg made contact with the 54. He loses 2 spots. Sean Becker up to second.
But the consistency is there. I've always kind of tried to not crash into stuff and finish races. So even on the nights where, we go out to win every night, but on some nights you just kind of have to lick your wounds and know you're going to finish fourth and not do anything stupid. But, the schedules have been so crazy that, the nights have been very, very high car counts. We've had great car counts. So I think the competition levels, made things harder on me as far as you're not able to maybe miss the setup on the car or make a mistake on the track. And when you do that with a good crop of cars, they eat you up. So there's a few things that have contributed us not winning races as much as I kind of like to, but, we still have the consistency. And for some reason, Marysville, they kept track of points this year. I would have thought it would have been an easy time for them just to say, we're not going to keep track. But they went ahead and kept track of the points for all the classes. And, we've won that deal, so we'll take it.
For sure. 22nd championship, if I'm not mistaken, that you've earned, and really, really fun. And I've kind of enjoyed it. The late night on Flow, nights that I'm having a little insomnia, I tune up and see what you guys are doing out there. So we'll take whatever we can take as far as that goes. Hey, we need to step away. Stay with us. More with Andy Forsberg in just a moment.
Hey, Ashley, what are you up to?
Oh, I just stopped by to grab some sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
You can never go wrong with a Honey Crisp. They're light, crisp, and full of perfectly balanced flavor.
Oh, hey!
You could always go with one of their classics, the Gala or Fuji. They're both sweet and juicy. Grown in the heart of Eastern Washington, Sage Fruit Company works hard on the farm and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears to consumers all year long.
Well, I couldn't decide which ones. Thanks for the help, guys.
I'll race you to checkout.
It is Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. Andy Forsberg, the champion out at Marysville Speedway, joins us here. And Andy, one of the things that we like to do when we get somebody on the Hercules Star Hotline is go a little bit off track, okay? Now, my understanding, your business, you talked about your work, your business, they know when to bother me, when not to bother me. You're in the cabinet refinishing business, is that accurate?
Yeah, we stain and finish cabinets, so the cabinet shops actually build them. They're 100% ready to go, and then they bring them to me. We stain them, clear them, and send them down the road. So that's kind of my little racket here, and we got the shops on my property, the race shops right next door. So I've been kind of self-quarantined my whole life. So when this whole COVID thing came about and everybody was having to stay at home, it was nothing new to me. That's what I do every day.
Brett Barney, he can't get around him. Here's Andy Forsberg going around Ryan Robinson.
Now, we heard some story about, you're talking about your property, something about you got some goats last year to help keep the keep the grass cut. What's that story?
Yeah, well, the goats, I got some goats to take care of there's about 2 acres that I don't really manicure, so I thought, well, I'll just get some goats and they'll eat it all down. So then we went to Tulare for a couple race, 2-day show, and when we came back, the goats were gone. So I basically had a buffet for the coyotes that weekend, and yeah, so I looked all around. I had no idea coyotes would do that. I live in the country now, but I'm not very savvy on what goes on out here. But yeah, those coyotes, they didn't leave any remnants of anything, so I just thought the goats ran away. So we looked around and put signs up like an idiot, and basically the people that know their stuff were like, dude, they got eaten by coyotes, quit wasting your time. But the latest thing now is I was working on the well the other day, and I found a baby rabbit, a jackrabbit. I mean, it wasn't much bigger than a hardball, or maybe about the size of I'd say it was all curled up like about the size of a baseball. And so I got it and showed my wife, and now we have a pet jackrabbit. So it's I asked her the other day, like, what are we going to do with this thing? But I don't know, it's kind of domesticated now. It actually kind of jumps out of its cage when it sees us, like almost like a dog. So I don't know. We got a pet rabbit. What are you going to do?
So, domesticating a jackrabbit. How about that? There you go. Stuff we've never talked about on Wing Nation before. Do you have other pets in the house, or is this the only pet?
We got Mia, our little pup. She's not quite sure what to do with this rabbit because she's used to being priority number one. And yeah, it's kind of hard not to look at the baby rabbit. I mean, it's cute and little and tiny, and Mia's kind of giving us the old sad puppy dog eyes, but they're becoming friends, so that's kind of fun to see. But no, it was just Mia. Candace's daughter's moved on. She got married a couple weeks ago, so empty nesters now. So it's all, I've always said it's always about me, but it's definitely all about me now. So that's why I never really had kids of my own. I always said I was too selfish to have kids. But yeah, so just me and the wife and a rabbit and a dog. That's it.
Wow. Well, hey, at least you're honest about it. It's all about you. I like it. So
well, I think that's why I was always good at point racing, because people ask, how do you point race so often? Don't you ever want to go to a wedding or a birthday party? And the answer to that is no. I'm not going to weddings during racing season. And if I miss a family member's birthday for a race, I don't mind that either. So that's very helpful when you want to go point racing, is not mind going to every single race.
That's awesome. So is there anything else that you did during quarantine, something new? I don't know, picked up a different hobby. What did you do when the racetracks were totally closed?
I drove my dad crazy. We were building railing. Anywhere there was some crappy fence or some T-bar and wire fencing got replaced around my property. So I think we're pushing about 800 feet of steel railing with fancy tips and everything. And the last section we did, my dad told me, I don't care how long it is till we race again, I'm not building any more railing. So that was kind of what kept us busy while the race cars were sitting here idle and our weekends were boring. So we just built railing and installed it. So if that sounds exciting, I don't know. That was the amount of excitement we had in Auburn for about 2 months.
Andy, you've mentioned a couple times your dad, and I think your story out there is amazing. Forsberg Racing started in 1968 with your dad, and then you took over in the early 90s as the driver. What has that been like to be side by side with your dad through his, as you were sneaking into the pits as a kid, and now to have him as not only fence builder but chief mechanic on your race car? What's that been like over the years?
Well, it's obviously pretty cool and special, to go racing with your dad. But it's also there's been some knockdown drag-outs where we wanted to, kill each other. But my most fondest memories would be I enjoyed watching him win races more than I enjoy winning races. So looking back, just remembering some of his last victories, the excitement I had, and just, God, it was so cool to watch my dad race. And, and now later, I see that excitement in his face and his eyes when he comes down into victory lane. So I know what he's going through. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't live too far away, maybe about a half a mile, and he stops in quite a bit, even when there's nothing to do, just to see what's going on. He kind of lives uphill for me, so he'll ride his bike here sometimes, and then I got to give him a ride back home. He won't ride the bike back home, but yeah, between him and I've got his couple crew guys that were with him in the late 70s and through the 80s, and now they've retired and working on the race car is kind of their quote unquote job, and they look forward to coming here, and it's a lot more fun than kind of how we used to do it, which would be show up at the shop at 6 or 7 o'clock at night after work and kind of begrudgingly do it. So the situation I'm in right now is pretty good. I'm pretty spoiled, and the race results might not always be there like we want, but it's still pretty darn cool.
It sounds like it. Sounds like a winning situation out there, and particularly this year, anything positive and cool is survival as we all go through 2020. Andy, we always appreciate the conversation, the candor, the fun chit chat we get to tow a couple times a year, and we wish you the best as the rest of the season unfolds. And we'll look forward to chatting somewhere down the road here on Wing Nation.
Definitely appreciate it.
There we go. Andy Forsberg joining us here today on Wing Nation on the Hercules Star Hotline. Stay with us. More Wing Nation in just a moment.
Power isn't born. It's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
It is Wing Nation. We appreciate Andy Forsberg joining us on the Hercules Tire Hotline. A lot of times we'll do our Tweet Your Seat tweets of the week right now. Going to do it a little bit different, though. We were looking through our archives, and back a few years ago in Knoxville, we had the chance to hang out backstage with some legends. Doug Wolfgang, Stevie Smith, and Brad Doty. And, well, we got a chance to ask them some questions. Questions like, do you have any racing superstitions?
The only superstition I had was I was afraid to think that I was any good or pat myself on the back because I thought it'd be the end of my career. So it ended prematurely anyway, but it didn't have nothing to do with that.
No, I guess I never really did have any superstitions when I raced, and maybe I should have, but I didn't.
I try to avoid green on race day, but not too many. Never really had many of those, and don't focus on it. Just worry about what we're doing on the track.
All right, so we've got racer Erin Evernham in studio with us there. Erin, did you have any racing superstitions?
I didn't really. Growing up, the whole, like Stevie Smith said, green was bad luck. But then when I saw Steve Kinzer's car, that got thrown out the window. So I didn't really have too many superstitions.
Yeah, that's really neat. I think Doug Wolfgang's superstition about not ever thinking was good was probably why he was so successful. All right, another question for our legends. Your first car.
Yeah, it was a 1955 two-door hardtop Chevrolet.
Oh, yeah, it was an old jalopy. It was an old Buick Skyhawk and pretty tore up, but that's all we could afford. Had to put all my money into race cars.
My first street car was a 1971 Pinto, and I souped it up as much as you could, a Pinto in those days, but it had an emergency brake in the center console, and I went through a lot of rear tires, put it that way.
Brad Doty with a Pinto. Erin, what was your first street car?
My first street car was a 1984 Ford Escort that was silver with a red driver's side door.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Very specific, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was real fancy.
There you go, yes. We travel around the country and we ask these legends what was their favorite food as they travel across the country.
Cheeseburger.
I had to stick with the old steak.
Pizza.
And so, Erin, when you were a race car driver, what was your favorite food and has that changed now?
Oh, no, I love food in general. I would have to say that a pizza burger from Eldora, but I have to ask you this question because you're really the foodie around here. What's your favorite racetrack food?
Favorite racetrack food would have been Hoffman hot dogs from either Oswego or Rollin' Wheels Raceway and salt potatoes from Wilkesport Speedway. Although anything at Orange County was always good. The bologna burgers at South Boston are awful. Oh boy, I'm in trouble now. The answer is yes, racetrack food, all of it. Give it to me all. And speaking of racetrack food, that was right outside of the pork tenderloin stand. You could see that in the background where we talk to our legends. Those are pretty good as well. So neat to check in and hear from some of our legends of the sport. You know, Ford's racing roots extend all the way back to 1901 when Henry Ford won his first and only race. And then last October, when Donnie Schatz brought a Ford-powered World of Outlaws sprint car across the finish line. And another win was added to the trophy case, and Schatz keeps winning.
For anyone who loves sprint car racing, that was a banner day. It became clear the Blue Oval was back on the dirt tracks, and in a big way, with the new FPS 410 engine built in America for a truly American form of racing.
Stay with us. More Wing Nation in just a moment.
Hey Ashley, what are you up to?
Oh, I just stopped by to grab some sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
You can never go wrong with a Honey Crisp. They're light, crisp, and full of perfectly balanced flavor.
Oh, hey!
You could always go with one of their classics, the Gala or Fuji. They're both sweet and juicy. Grown in the heart of Eastern Washington, Sage Fruit Company works hard on the farm and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears to consumers all year long.
Well, I couldn't decide which ones. Thanks for the help, guys.
I'll race you to checkout.
There are people who say things aren't made here anymore. Those people should make a trip to Michigan, or Kentucky, or Illinois, where you'll find our workers, and dealers, and engineers, and technicians building for America. We're proud to employ more hourly workers than any other automaker in this country, because we build for this country.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation. So glad you've joined us. Presented by Sage Fruit. Erin Evernham in the Hercules Tire Studio. Steve Post here via Skype, talking sprint car racing. And Erin, as the month of September rolls along, it's all about Pennsylvania. Man, the month of money in Pennsylvania is upon us.
Oh, it is. It's my favorite time of year. And like we've talked about on our weekly show, it's Posse versus Outlaws versus Larson.
No doubt. And that starts this weekend with the $53,000 to win Tuscarora 50. Next weekend, Lincoln Speedway. It's going to be a fabulous $20,000 to win. The Jim Nace Memorial, $20 grand up at Sealands Grove. And then October 2nd and 3rd, the National Open at Williams Grove. Erin, $65,000 to win that one. That's a lot of money on the line in Pennsylvania in the next 4 weeks.
It really is, especially considering how this year has been so tough and many tracks have cut purses. This is, it's going to be fun to watch the next month.
Fun to watch, that's for sure, and we appreciate you taking some time and watching us here on Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. We'll talk to you again real soon.